I am water. I think this realization keeps me going also, you know, and work in progress, I would like to call it. For a long time, this feeling has been there that there is a water outside which is dirty, and I wish to do something
Hmm,
about it. And also at the same time, I have to
hmm,
change myself.
hmm.
And for me, that's the project. So if I matter, which means water matters.
So true, so true. How do we
Hmm.
retrofit existing urban areas to be more water efficient and environment friendly?
Oh, wonderful question, huh? So I think the first part I'll take that way. It's definitely possible to really fix things the way we are
Mhm.
as of today. But importantly, we have to really look at it whether people are informed
Hmm.
about it.
If you were to look at India,
Hmm.
we should take a lot less time because we are so much connected with nature, and the
Hmm.
appreciation uh, and the awareness and the conversation around water should happen more here than any other part of the world,
Oh, absolutely.
because I think as
Absolutely.
a culture we're so connected to nature. Our connection to nature as a civilization, इसीलिए तो हम मदर अर्थ
Hmm.
कहते
Hmm,
हैं.
hmm.
There is no water conservation without water conservation.
Look for the silver lining whenever a cloud appears in the blue.
Hello and welcome to Between Us. Make every conversation count. And in today's conversation, I have with me the pleasure of Dr. Mansee Bal Bhargava. If I were to take the liberty to introduce you, ma'am, uh, the biodata says a transdisciplinary expert in building environment and advanced degrees from CEPT University, University of Cambridge, Erasmus University Rotterdam, and a plethora of prestigious scholarship and fellowships. Dr. Bhargava brings a wealth of knowledge and passion to our discussion today, and I'm really looking forward to this discussion on our podcast. Mansi ma'am, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Santosh. I was a bit of worried what I'm going to speak to you, but after you actually gave me those pointers, the way we are going to look at, I'm really relieved that you are going to let me speak my heart. So I'm looking forward to this conversation, to be honest.
We will begin this podcast with a brief introduction to water management, and then we move ahead with the different segments of our podcast, which I'll introduce during the course of our conversation. Um, First things first, just quickly, ma'am, if you could, you know, talk about your professional journey and a little bit about water management currently in India. You know, the challenges, the opportunities in the field, and some insights. And I'm sure as we progress through the segments, it'll be a lot easier to understand. But quickly the current state of water management, your personal and professional journey.
So I'll take the current state of water management because that will help me to explain the latter one. Thank you. Uh, we have really good water state of affairs to be optimistic about it. But the pessimistic side of it is we are also really dwelling into a serious water crisis. And when we talk about water crisis, I mean all the three: flood, drought, and access to water to the vulnerable community. We have also experienced day zero, starting with Chennai, and Niti Aayog has already given a list of cities where day zero is at the doorstep, so knocking at our communities. So, having said that, I think the more the crisis, in a very sadistic way, the more the opportunities for water workers. So I'm trying to find my way. Where can I contribute little bit first to change myself and then to bring a change in the water narratives, a change in the water conversations. You know, because for long water management was an engineered management approach, And it's only recent that we are getting into water management as a social, ecological, and technical approach, the engineering approach. So we are already in a transition in water management, and some of us are trying to dwell in that area. And I'm still looking for good work, a work in progress. So if you have anything for me to teach or about water, if you have any research which you think you can collaborate, I'm very happy to join hands with people, because water management is a collective effort. I do not see that I'm working solo in any water practices. So some research are going on, some education work is going on, and also running the water conversation series through W for W Foundation. So I think I have to continue doing this for, I don't know, until my last breath, or until my hands and heads are, and the heart are in good shape. I will keep doing what I'm currently doing. So, and I think hands are full in that way. And more the crisis, we need more people. And I'm giving a shout to all the people out here. Please come and join us, because we have really shortage of people, as we have shortage of water. It's going hand in hand. But having said that, still work opportunities are less, and the Porter theory applies here, because there are not many water experts or water workers. It is still not seen as a profession, so we suffer from that part as well. So we are constantly in search of work.
Well, ma'am, I think we're going to have some really interesting conversations as we move forward with our different segments. To me, the most important segment of the three segments we have in our podcast, and that is what matters. And when we talk about what matters, I would like to first begin with your personal narrative, your personal stories around water. So, can you share a personal story that illustrates the importance of water in your life?
I think very touching question, to be honest. For me, the realization that I am water, and it's a long-standing realization I have, and that I am a bag of wastewater, and I have to constantly cleanse it to keep myself afloat. And I think this realization keeps me going, also, you know, and work in progress, I would like to call it. And it's not that any
Mm,
particular moment, but for a long time this feeling has been there, that there is a water outside which is dirty, and I wish to do something
mm,
about it. And I'm trying to do a little bit of from my own humanly possible end. And also at the same time, I have to
mm,
change myself.
mm.
And for me, that's the project. I will say water matters. So if I matter, which means water matters.
So true, so true. Um, there's a constant interplay between water management
Hmm.
and climate change, because
Hmm.
climate change is, there is no denial that it's affecting water resources and water availability. And I think one of the things is, which is where it impacts the most, is urban planning.
Hmm.
We need to have a smarter way to integrate climate resilience into urban planning so that the impact on
Hmm.
water resources is minimal. How do we do that? And B, can international collaborations with institutions, countries, communities help in addressing these challenges?
Wonderful question. First of all, the acceptance that climate change is manifested through water crisis, because for a long time it was limited to understanding greenhouse gas emissions. You know, so much of the work on climate change was is still geared towards that. But so mitigation, climate change mitigation is considered more. I think it has more impetus. But the fact that the climate change adaptation means we have to work on the water systems. Because how do we understand there is climate change happening? Sea level rise, monsoons coming in a very erratic manner, right? A drought, so desertification of land, so because groundwater is taken away, so land are getting India's 70% land is now in the serious desertification threat, just to give an example. Then freshwater supply is reducing. So funny thing is the climate change is manifested through water as much as it is manifested through greenhouse and gas. So in those situations, yes, resilience is extremely important as an idea to work upon, and there are a lot of efforts going on, which is, I think, a status update from sustainability, because for nearly 3 decades we worked on sustainability of human habitation. And now we are working on resilience, where we talk about resilience of an individual, resilience of a household, resilience of community, resilience of city. So we are already talking of 4 levels of resilience, and each one requires equal attention, because this is interdependent resilience. If a community is resilient, the city will be resilient, and vice versa. So urban planning, and even all rural planning for that matter, planning as a approach, is extremely instrumental and crucial in that sense, to change the way resilience can be built. And classic example is making cities flood proof. We have failed terribly in dealing with flood, and flood is disaster. But at the same time, we have to also deal with drought, you know so if resilience building has to work, it has to work both on flood and drought. And the third resilience building, which is still not looked upon, which is more social political, that's access to fresh water. So 3 aspects of water one has to majorly look upon. And access to fresh water is a political social matter, who gets how much. And we have a discriminating society, you know so and that is a bigger problem, by the way, than the flood and drought. Because you see, in flood you have water everywhere, but there is not enough water to drink, kind of situation. And in drought, of course, you do not have water at all. So resilience building has to happen definitely at community level first, because community will then work on build. So it's a I will say bridge between individuals and the city. And looking at city, and talking about resilience is like, it's like a monster or a big elephant to handle. So it is better to democratize resilience and work at a scale which is doable, because eventually the doers are human beings. Human beings are polluters, and human beings have to also solve the problem. So community scale or community resilience is a perfect way to really enter there. And I think this is where the resilience approach or policy has to democratize itself, rather than making big plans to change city and all. And each small neighborhood, let's say, or community scale. Santosh, interestingly, the tropical landscape of India has lakes and ponds at every few kilometers. Our design of the landscape is like that, which is embedded with the waterscape. So if every neighborhood can have its own little pond, green area, play area, relief area, you're already talking about sponge area, which is a new concept now coming up as resilience. If we are already talking about these things, we are already talking about provision of better fresh water, groundwater recharge, fresh air. We're talking about more biodiversity. So I think resilience has to dwell there. Many small projects of community resilience can make a bigger project, vis-a-vis a very top-down approach of putting resilience in one place. And urban planning can also help, or planning for that matter, again, sorry for that correction, can really take that scale and rethink and rework on the way we did planning in the past. We can redo many things at this point in time at that scale, not at a city scale. you know Reclaim our public spaces, reclaim our green spaces, reclaim our water bodies, and bring them to their restore to their ecosystem shape. That will be helpful.
We spoke about sustainable urban planning,
Blue infrastructure
blue
also.
infrastructure also. How do we retrofit existing urban areas to be more water efficient and environment friendly? And the second part to that question is, what innovative design strategies have you seen in through your experiences that effectively balance development and ecological conservation?
Oh, wonderful question, huh? So I think the first part I'll take that way. It's definitely possible to really fix things the way we are as of today. But importantly, we have to really look at it whether people are informed about it. So if you want to implement a policy, people have to know. Corona, classic example. Wear your mask. Do this. Because if you want to go for water conservation approach at a city level or community level, people need to be informed about it so that they can make their own contribution. Every individual has to contribute. Otherwise, policies are normative documents. We have to understand this and written it with a very good intent, having very good content to bring a positive change in the society, to bring out, to address the problems in the society. So, no issues with the policy documents. It's the implementation that gets challenged because of the language communication between the policy implementation and the community understanding the policy. So that has to be really fixed by some people, and I think transdisciplinary scholars have to fix that. I don't know who is going to do it, but has to be done. So there are many good case examples around the world, and I would like to quote an example from my personal experience of going to Kashimigora in Japan. So we were there in this 3-day conference and happily drinking bottled water and doing all conference activities. And on the second day, end of the day, we were taken to a plant and taken to a beautiful lake, and a plant next to the lake, and then we were told that the water which we were flushing in our hotel and conference gets treated in this lake and then goes further for further treatment to make it potable, so ecosystem treatment at the lake, and then gets into the industry, and the water is further treated for making it potable, and the bottle was in our hand and the same bottle was in the industry, you know so if they had not told us, we were fine drinking that water. But once we saw it, uh, it's not that I was taken aback by my cultural reservations, because being in that field, I felt proud, to be honest, that there is a technological advancement where we have this possibility that we can bring a circular water system in our community and city, and same very good example is new water of Singapore. So we have to look at circular water not only technically but philosophically also. It's one planet, it has the same water, and we are talking about only 0.3% of the total water available, which is for available for us to consume. 0.3%, Santosh, in rivers and lakes and ponds and streams and fountains and all those things. Only 0.3%, and it should not be a big problem. So we have examples where we have good examples even in India as well. I mean, Auroville is a classic example where they are trying to recycle and reuse as much as possible. So many of these examples, there are a lot of things to learn about. Personally, I cling on to reducing consumption of fresh water, and consumption of any good for that matter.
Education of ecological sensitivity and the role of educational institutions, educational programs, curriculums based on sustainability and water management, and schools and universities. And I think the first school is your home, right? One of the things I've always felt is that when we are trying to bring about a change, the best way to do that is to integrate our personal and practical experiences along with research opportunities out there into environmental education. So, your practical personal experiences and research opportunities. So, my question to you would be, how do educators like you, because you're an educator yourself, um, incorporate hands-on ecological research projects into teaching? Because I think hands-on ecological research will really help when it comes to projects around sustainability. And are there successful models of environmental education globally which our institutions can emulate?
Oh, a very good question. Well, I don't know how educators in the country really take me as educator. I don't know. I am at a crossroad where the practitioners do not consider me enough as practitioners, and educators do not consider me enough as educator. So that's a disadvantaged position if you look at it from a livelihood point of view. But I feel that's an advantaged position for me to really flow through the systems of practice and education. And if people have to really teach water in a certain manner, there are wonderful examples of water classrooms. I know one of my friend, Professor Sara Ahmad, is running water classrooms for children. It's a very well designed, thoroughly designed water course for children. Likewise, there are very few institutes in the country that are teaching about water. I also have had an opportunity to teach water a few times. I taught circular water at NID, NIDs, couple of NIDs together. Then teaching water governance, water conflict and management at Teresa's, then water research at TIS Hyderabad. So there are possibilities, but I think they are not enough. So water education is instrumental to bring a change, but it is not happening at the pace of water crisis. My concern lies there. So people like me are really finding it difficult to find water education possibilities. But given that situation, whatever water education the few of my acquaintances are undertaking, I think they are doing tremendous effort to really get things across to the younger generation, even getting things across to their peer group. Because mind you, Santosh, we have to keep reminding ourselves that we are not trained water practitioners, not trained water professionals, not water expert. We are learning by doing. We are learning from peer group. We are learning from youth. We are learning from children, and we are trying to see how to make the education more effective. So it's definitely a work in progress. You may hear this word many a times too from me, because society is in a transition to handle water crisis. Society is in a transition to talk about water management, and water management is only getting talked about because the crisis is rising. It's a situation where we are pushed to think about water, because water is a fundamental right of people, but that fundamental right also gave us the liberty to exploit water to the unlimited end.
True. Wonderful, Mansee ma'am. So there are multiple other segments to look forward to. With this, we come to the end of our first segment, What Matters. So we now move to the second segment, What's Brewing. Basically, I want to talk about the first thing I want to ask you is what future projects or innovations you are most excited about, especially in the field of water management.
Oh, I think million worth question, huh? If we can find out a way to stop rich people using more water, I don't know how. My response will be very very unorthodox. Let me tell you, for the reason that I am really looking at water management from people management perspective, not from the water management perspective. But technically, if you ask me that question, if you had made this segment, I will say that that the acceptance for of people to really use wastewater as their drinking water. I mean, that will be really the day when anyway we will reduce our water consumption, knowing that it is coming as a circular water. And it is not far, by the way. I mean, there are many places in the world who are trying. India will take more time for social cultural reasons.
As a matter of fact, man, if you were to look at India, we should take a lot less time because we are so much connected with nature, and the appreciation uh, and the awareness and the conversation around water should happen more here than any other part of the world,
Oh, absolutely.
because I think as
Absolutely.
a culture we are so connected to nature. Our connection to nature as a civilization, इसीलिए तो हम मदर अर्थ कहते हैं. And I know that you don't really look at Matrix, and at least that's what I feel. Um, Even then, if I were to ask you a little bit around trends, future
Little bit around.
trends
And,
around. So,
huh. Hmm.
what kind of trends do you see in water management that we should probably watch out for the next decades?
Okay, I'll take the first part where you were describing about it to also bring on record to people here that the mention of water management in human civilization actually came from our literature, from Vedas. And to give reference of Rig Veda Samhita, where they really talk about what we know as sustainable development goals. So Vedas asks us to preserve water for future generation, because water, they give lot of points from Ved Samhita and all different Veds, Taittiriya Samhita and Atharva Ved, and so many Samhitas, basically many points. So water management as a discourse is not new in India. Just to, as you mentioned, and so I want to echo that, bringing a historical evidence. So it's not new for us. So we should be able to embrace it much faster than any other civilization. The first mention of rainwater harvesting is also in Vedas, ever. So we have the heritage. We have that, I will say, sensitiveness. Let me put it that way. And I think then the technology becomes a very instrumental tool to really add on to our inheritance of understanding of water. It's only in India, I think, where we worship
Yes.
water. So now it is just that a matter of how we add things here. So I think your question was on what today, what are the technologies today? Is that key trends? Okay. Oh, that's where I have some serious reservations on the key trends. It's just like, let me give an example of directly of water. So there are a lot of trends on wastewater recycling, a cure approach, technological approach, a nature-based solution, bioremediation, this, that, I mean, many. Uh, and I want to give an analogy of plastic here. So plastic recycling is happening, waste recycling is happening. Now, these trends do not really embed to stress upon production of lesser of wastewater, lesser of plastic, lesser of solid waste. So what my worry is, if that is not brought as a disclaimer first, and if we continuously work on cure approach, we are doomed.
Okay.
Because if we appreciate this plastic recycled furniture, this and that, very good, we have to do it. But the same people, the same trendsetters have to first of all say, please do not produce plastic, please do not produce waste. Because this is produced, we are obliged to do it. Likewise, please do not produce wastewater much, because it increases the load on energy, it increases the load on work. But what is happening, unfortunately, is if you set up your business like that, if you set up your approach like that, which means you need more produce, you need more waste, you need more product to produce that. So I think they have to take the moral responsibility, and the trend is yet to come, that putting that as a disclaimer that we have taken a cure approach, but parallelly we have to take the preventive approach. I may not be doing it, but I can always collaborate with, please, or I should take up both the arms together. So preventive is a long term approach, cure is a short term approach. And unfortunately, most of the water management today are on cure approach. And you know why? Because using technology and science is much easier than changing people's behavior. Nobody wants to bell the
Yes,
cat.
so true.
Nobody wants to get the education installed in primary to PhD, because that takes a longer process than putting up a machine and cleaning the water body. Then I'm not against those things. We need those things, but then we do not have proponents of knowledge. We do not have proponents of sound research. We do not have proponents of sound policy. What happens is the proponents of actions who are doing these things, they become the boss of proponents of research and policy. And in a way, the policy is written in such a way, the projects are written in such a way, or project funds are given in such a way that more and more energy is invested in cure approach. To give an example, in any project, less than 10% money is used in social awareness. And I have come to an understanding from my 30 years of learning about water. If you are putting up a project on water, give 50% of money on social awareness, long term changing behavioral impact. 50% money you use for technology, for cure. So prevention and cure are not going to happen separately. You know, they have to be taken together. So if a company is working on wastewater management, the same company has to also talk about how to reduce production of wastewater, which is not happening. So we are unfortunately in water management also in that rat race of doing panacea approach कि ये करना है तो ये करते चले जाना है, because human subject is difficult to work upon. We don't want to change ourselves, and that's why I use the word who is going to bell the cat. So people do not want to take this subject as a subject of work. And that is where I am so much convinced that if we cannot work on people directly, the only way to bring a change in people is by education.
Very, very important, I think. And sometimes we also don't understand what education means. It's not just about going to a class and taking lessons. There's much more to it than that.
Much more. That is education for employment, what you said. And I'm saying education for enlightenment. I mean, education for enlightenment has to be the way of looking at it.
Just a thought, how do we prepare ourselves for, any future challenge that will arise out in water sustainability?
Yes, there are very easy ways, by the way, and I wish to bring out the example of corona here. Start imagining if corona was a waterborne disease, and that's a very good fear factor to start thinking to bring a change in oneself. And it is definitely possible. And the only mantra to do is reduce your needs. Start questioning how much do I need, on day one. And because if I inherit that habit in myself, I bring that habit to the boardroom, bring that habit to the policy document, So I think for future, one has to redefine lifestyle and occupation. One has to rethink how much they can keep wasting. And simple formula. You use 4 liters of water to drink, you excrete and urinate that 4 liters. And that applies to every product we use.
True.
So if we can reduce our needs, and if there is a crisis in the future, you will have lesser need anyways. So you can manage with that. That's individually. But I think the bigger concern for future will be things that may not be at individuals' hands directly, but indirectly, yes. And that is emerging pollutants. And emerging pollutants are very strange kind of chemicals which are coming into water, for which we still do not have decoded how to treat them. and that's not an everyday pollution which
Hmm.
can be treated. So very जिद्दी बोलते हैं, जिद्दी दाग के जैसे जिद्दी bacterias and pollutants. And mind you, during Corona in my city in
Hmm.
Sabarmati River, IIT Gandhinagar scientists actually found coronavirus in water. So I would like to scare people from your platform that we are not far from having more viruses, more bacteria, more water problems in future if we do not change
Hmm.
our behavior. If we do not stop using all those chemicals
Hmm.
in our homes, all those
Hmm.
strong soaps in our
Hmm.
homes, what you can do is reduce your consumption first. You may not have alternatives in the market,
Hmm.
I understand, but if we can reduce our consumption, as I was giving example of coffee, a person who drinks a coffee one day, I drink it in
Hmm.
7 days, it's
Hmm.
not light because I have to
Hmm.
drink coffee. That's my
Hmm.
requirement, let's say, my
Hmm.
need. As if I will survive
Hmm.
without coffee, but I have developed a
Hmm.
bad habit. So I have to change myself. So I'm changing in a way that I'm using one day of coffee in seven
Hmm.
days or
Hmm.
10 days. you know, just to fool myself, but at the same time being conscious of my
Hmm. Hmm.
consumption. So that is something which one can do because that habit will come to the policy discussion. So when I'm sitting in a policy discussion, I'm
Hmm.
bringing these
Hmm.
things up. So how to reduce, how to change people's behavior. I think one thing which we all have to understand is water management is
Hmm.
people
Hmm.
management. The water that is outside in the rivers, in the lakes, in the ponds, is the same water
Hmm.
that is inside. It is one water. We are not talking about two
Hmm.
different water. And I love to say this line many a times in my public speaking: the water in the drain is also the water in the brain.
Okay.
So you have to know this
Mhm.
relationship and understand the stage of mental well-being in the society. We are in serious mental
Mhm.
crisis, and we are in serious
Mhm.
wastewater crisis. You know, so there is a spiritual connection. There is also a physical connection with the
Hmm.
water outside. So if the water outside is dirty, the chemical inside is also
So true.
dirty.
So true.
So we have to clean the water
Mhm.
both ways. you know so I think it is possible, and you have to take baby steps, first for yourself, then for your people around, especially family members. Go really after them to bring a behavioral change, then you can look at community.
So inspiring, and it just opened up my perspective. And I say this because I always think and I say I really want to uh, be a part of whatever initiatives you're doing and contribute, ma'am, because this is so important for me. I think the biggest challenge we face, and I keep saying this again and again every episode, and as I said, that this podcast is an extension of who I am. I believe that our climate, our planet, the way we live, and the way we conduct ourselves is the single biggest threat we have. Um, you know, um, Rest of them are all created by us. All the wars, all the fight
Yes,
to finish.
humanly
Yes,
constructed. Wars
yeah,
are man-made. Let me be a little bit gendered here. Wars are
yes.
man-made.
Um, that's just. There's something which I always say because I truly believe it, ma'am, and that is that. And I think when we first had the conversation before I invited you to the podcast, I had said that there truly is no climate justice without economic justice. Because
Oh,
and
absolutely.
and I think technology definitely plays a key role in trying to bridge, if we use it the right way, to bridge a lot of economic
Yes.
injustices. Um, when it comes to water, we hear terms like smart water systems, uh, IoT playing an important role in improving water infrastructure. Can you,
Yeah.
so for me, as I said, that equitable access comes from technology, because if the the less the marginalized group of people who really need. Um, if technology can help bridge that gap, it's great. Can you list out, or do you have some kind of a list or something in terms of what are the emerging technologies you believe can or will revolutionize water management in the next decade?
Oh, there are plenty. Thanks for asking this question, Santosh, because I think we cannot shy away from use of
Hmm.
technology
Hmm.
now, definitely. And especially when we are talking about, putting water management for the
Yes.
vulnerable community. Having said that, I mean, I wish to bring this example here of a cup of water or coffee. This is a limited water. So, if technology allows us to really put a cap on how much one can use, and that is also for rich people and poor people, I think we can really understand who requires what. See, our national policy or constitutional right allows me 135 liters per day per person. On an average, an urbanite, I'm not talking about class, an urbanite gets 80 liters per day per person, averaging it out. A rural person gets 50 liters per day. So we already see urban-rural divide here, right? So that is also the gift of technology, by the way, because the water from rural area is brought to the urban areas for our consumption, and we have embraced urbanization. Let us
Hmm.
accept that. So, but if you look into the grains of urban areas, the grains of urban area goes from 20 liters to even 20,000 liters per capita. So, given this situation, because you asked a simple question, I have to set up the reference of it. Given this situation, a poor person barely gets 20 liters to a rich or rich person even uses more than 20,000 liters of water. And the dynamics, the economics is completely opposite. A rich person and a middle class pays much lesser per liter of the water vis-a-vis a poor person paying more than 20 times per liter of the water. Given this situation, what technology can do, we do have many of these techniques to treat wastewater. We have many techniques to check, water, to check the water quality, to check TDS. Now these are even handy tools which are there. We have techniques to clear arsenic, fluoride, and all those chemicals which are there. We have all those many startups and many patented things. We also have, I'm working with one of my funder who is producing water from aeronero. I know a person who is right now using the most economic water purification system, and Watson Limited, just giving some examples because you seek examples, and that's the cheapest water purifier right now available in the country. And I feel happy that both are my friends, so I'm happy to promote their work as well. uh, and uh, and the candles can be also very easily changed in Watson. So it's there are people who are working. I have another friend and co-founder of W for W Foundation, Ganesh Shankar from Fluxgen Limited, and from Bangalore. They are doing industrial metering to help industries IoT based systems to monitor their water consumption. You understand how beautiful that is. Because if they are monitoring the water consumption, they are also monitoring the wastewater production. So they are helping industries, big industries. He has his projects. Fluxgen has their projects to reduce their water use for their product, to optimize. So to give an example here from smaller scale, I know Sufia Khan has developed from Vanasthali University. She developed very small candles which you put in your glass and you can actually extract the fluoride and arsenic out of it. So likewise, there are many examples which are available. My worry is on the water resource part of it, because much of these technologies are again anthropocentric for humans. And my concern and forte lies in the resource management side of it. Because for me, water is not for humans alone, and water is for everybody, and I think we are short of technologies there. I think we are short of effort there because we have now started a race of existence of humans versus others. And that's the worst race we have put ourselves into. And uh, after dam, and canal irrigation system, we have not had much technological innovations in water resource management. We do have water supply system in cities where the city water comes to our city, then put in the treatment plant and then distributed to the city and all. But then some rationing, water metering is a very good technological advancement, I will say. But how many cities are agreeing to put the water meter? How many houses are manipulating the water meters where it has been put? Hyderabad has been a little bit successful in putting some water meters. Delhi has been a little bit successful, but not other cities in the country. So we are not short of technology, Santosh. Let me just put it that way. What we are short of is embracing, inclusivity, both between humans. So we are in a fight between, the haves and the have-nots, and also between humans and other creatures. See, we are now 96% of beings, humans and cattle, are 96% of the beings on planet. And cattle means farming, huh? They have to consume grass. That takes a lot of water. Then we have our aspirations. We are producing more waste than we
True.
can consume. So we need water for our consumption, for everything. And then we end up producing waste. So I think the three major planetary crises today we have is climate change, of course. I don't know how much we can attribute it to anthropogenic activities, but yes, it has, I think, fastened the climate change. But water pollution is a serious problem. So waste and water pollution is the serious planetary crisis, and the biodiversity loss that the planet is for
Right.
humans has to change, has to really change before we are late. And I feel good that people talk about bees now, people talk about ants now, people talk about elephants and tiger, Project Tiger is there. But we have to really have more technological advancement for changing biodiversity status, changing water pollution status, because climate change is that big elephant in the room.
Let me come to the final question of this segment, because I want to just uh, move towards your personal future goals. Like, what are your long-term goals for water management and sustainable development in India? I know you've been doing tremendous amount of work, but do you have some goals which you feel um, 5 years, 10 years down the line? And I know that you're not big on listing down things, but in general, because sometimes we draw inspirations from people around us. So maybe your future
Hmm.
goals might inspire a whole bunch of young people or individuals in general. I think one thing I've realized interacting with people from different age group is there is no single age for changing. You can change and you can make a difference
Of course.
at any age. You know how. So if you could share your long-term goals, or which might actually inspire other individuals to take up, and they may not
Hmm.
hold a PhD, or they may not be completely entrenched into water the way you are, but if they can take something, some bites, some lessons from your future goals, uh, that would be wonderful.
No, you remind me of a recent interaction I had with the US Embassy, and they profiled
Mhm.
me in April. And this question was also asked by Zahur. Um, I think I really am challenged to set up long
Mhm.
term goals. I live
Mhm.
by day. That is my
Mhm.
limitation. And you may say it is because of the way the profession of
Mhm.
water is, the challenges I have faced in
Mhm.
my career, a career built out of many
Mhm.
failures. So I also, as an individual, I am a strong believer that there is no tomorrow for me. I'm a
Mhm.
strong believer. So I really wish to live every day. But having said that, I think after 30 years, I am better positioned to answer this question as I was 30 years ago as young, because that time also I had the
Mhm.
same belief, to be honest. Otherwise I would have really looked for a cushion job, being topper in the class and very good marks, and all my education time and abroad also, always my mentors asked me, would you like to stay back? Because I make a good social person. So they would ask, would you like to stay back and look for work? Why not? Having studied in Cambridge, still wanted to come back to India, studied and lived in many parts of the world, and still wanted to come back to India and work. Something which got much more clarity after 30 years is that जिस मिट्टी
Mhm.
से बने हैं, उसी मिट्टी में तो वापस जाना है, तो क्यों ना उसमें उसके जितने पास रह
Mhm.
सके. So every day I have this little desires, to walk barefoot on the soil, to
Mhm.
feel it. And जैसे ही कहीं पानी दिख रहा है, उछलता हुआ या गिरता हुआ, तो उसमें नहा लिया. And I did that today morning
Mhm.
as well. पानी कोई नल का छोड़ के चला गया था कार वॉश में. तो मैं बंद करने गई तो थोड़ा अपने ऊपर डाल दिया. एंड आई फील सो हैप्पी डूइंग
Mhm.
दीज लिटिल थिंग्स. बाहर डॉगीज है तो उनके साथ थोड़ा
Mhm.
खेल लिया, देख लिया. So doing these things somehow consume lot of my energy
Mhm.
and time, and I have not really sat through to decide what is going to happen tomorrow and what should my plan be. But there are some short-term projects, as in the research projects which I do, and
Mhm.
education. And I really wish to live a day before I disappear from this planet. That probably you can consider as my long-term goal. That water is
Mhm.
taught. My concern today is that water is not taught beyond
Mhm.
H2O. We have to move beyond
Mhm.
H2O. Water is
Mhm.
not H2O. There is much
Mhm.
more to water. We are part of it. So I really wish that there are more and more schools, colleges, and universities where water can be taught. And of course, if I can go and teach them, I also get a little bit of livelihood. By the way, that is going to be my livelihood, because applying for research grants is a really I will say tiring exercise. And with my age now going up and up, I can focus less on writing research proposal. I still wish to write. I write, but I think if it can be taught at most of my known colleges, I think my wish to stay afloat or my wish to have a livelihood out of water can be sufficed. I am not seeking anything more than that, to be honest. I'm very contented person in whatever I achieve and
Mhm.
achieve. And I think being that content also helps me to drift away from the rat race. So I think the biggest decision I made in my own career and life in the beginning, or probably because I was rebel, is that I'm not going to do what everybody does. You know, I'm going to find out happiness out of whatever I do. So I have never been unhappy with my work ever, even if there are challenges. So I think for me, the biggest achievement will be to stay healthy and happy. 50 plus, no medicines, no medicines, and still going okay, you know. So for me, the utmost requirement to live long, not that I wish to, but will be that I stay healthy and happy, and I would like to do what
Mhm.
I wish to do. If you do not accommodate me in your system of work, at least do not disturb me. Let me do my little bit. It's like these ants and those, worms who are making these little homes and here and there. Please do that. I mean, because end of the day, I would like to answer
Mhm.
myself. Did I spend my day well? But if I look at my 30 years of working like an ant or a bee, I feel if I look back, I think I did enough as a humanly possible work. And not that I'm done with it. I really want to go double the speed and achieve many things in terms of changing people's behavior. If I can change behavior of people of my house, I think the biggest achievement will be that. And that is a work in progress.
Amazing conversation. And with that, we come to the end of the second segment. So, Mansee ma'am, we are coming to the final segment of our podcast, which is the rapid fire questions. We've kind of broken up the rapid fire questions into three parts: this or that, fun and interactive, and the last part of our rapid fire is thought provoking questions. So, we will begin with this or that. The first question: rainwater harvesting or grey water recycling?
Grey water recycling.
Okay. Although it's a rapid fire, if you want to expand, you can, ma'am.
Yes.
Urban green spaces or rooftop gardens?
Urban green spaces. Anytime, million times.
Sustainable architecture or renewable energy?
Both no. Please give me the third option.
Okay. Freshwater lakes or groundwater wells?
Both. Give me the third option again.
Okay, I'll be mindful of this for future conversations.
Both.
Biophilic design or minimalist design?
Minimalist.
Water efficient appliances or water recycling systems?
Water recycling
Okay.
systems.
We move to the next segment within the rapid fire segment, fun and interactive set of questions. If you could visit any historical site to study its water management system, where would it be and why?
Vijayanagaram. Definitely Vijayanagaram. Of course, there are many other places one can visit. But the entire kingdom was so well arranged with water management in terms of its aqueducts. We also have one in Patan here, but it was late to
Okay.
restore. So if one has to learn how to integrate wells, aqueducts, rivers, ponds, tanks, it's the place to
Okay.
visit.
What's the most fascinating thing you have learned about water management in your research?
Can I be a little bit more, use satire
sure.
in here? Okay. The most fascinating thing for me is that people are so hell bent to manage water, and they just want to pretend not to manage people. And for me, that is the funniest thing. We don't want to manage ourselves. We want to manage water.
And by the way, ma'am, this is a fun and interactive session, so you can be as, you know,
Okay. Yeah. I forgot that part. Huh?
yes.
So I can
If
be.
you had a
So please don't manage water. Just
yes.
manage yourself.
So such a powerful
वो
statement.
बोलते हैं ना हिंदी में अपनी धोती संभालना बहुत जरूरी है तो that applies to humans.
If you had a superpower to solve one water issue instantly, what would it be?
Oh, I would like to have that power, please. I would like to have water education, not do anything on water again, but have water education, primary school, middle school, high school, bachelor's, master's, MPhil, PhD, water as a subject, not studying water in chemistry as H2O and somewhere else. A subject just like chemistry, subject just like history, water as a subject. Few credits, but definitely clearly at all levels of education.
Okay.
If I could do that, and I don't think I need a magic wand for that, I just need the ministry in my hand. Ministry of Education, not Ministry of Water.
If you could describe your mission in 3 words.
Water education, I don't need 3 words, I need 2 words.
Okay.
Water education will anyway lay the foundation of water management. Let me just
Sure.
add 2 more words. So, water education, and I think more than that, water
Water
conversations.
conversations. What's your favorite book, if any, on sustainability or water management?
Very difficult to describe this. Huh? I would not like to name one book here to really underscore that book and also undervalue other books. But maybe the book that changed my way of looking at things, that's Anupam Mishra's Aaj Bhi Khare Hai Talab. So Gandhian from the Peace Foundation in Delhi, and is no more. But I think that little book changed the way I looked at things. And then Dying Wisdom from Anil Agrawal and Sunita
Dying
Narayan.
Wisdom.
And I'm talking about 30 years ago, by the way.
Okay. So I'm sure this book would be worth a shot for everyone who really cares for our planet, cares for water.
Yes. And it's available. Good thing is it is
Mhm.
available online, free to download. The at least the Aaj Bhi Khade Hain Talab is free to
Mhm.
download also, in Hindi and English both.
I would absolutely do that. What's the most memorable feedback you have received from a public speaking event?
Recently, actually, I think I can use the recent one, but many to be honest, because I have been speaking at various public
Mhm.
platforms. आप लोगों को डांटती बहुत अच्छा है और ताकि उनको समझ में
जी.
आए. But I think my intention has always been to reach
Mhm.
people's heart, or I will say prick, put a
Mhm.
little pin there, um, and that's where I use a lot of
Mhm.
statistics. I mean, or backed by science, but I try to decode the science in simple language and really use very strong words so that people feel it.
Mhm.
So my target is here, not
Mhm.
here.
Absolutely.
So one of the bureaucrats who was seated in my recent speech, he said, "आप डांटती बहुत अच्छा है."
Mhm. And it's commendable coming that from a bureaucrat.
Yes.
um, if you could collaborate with any global environmentalist, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a very good question. But again, just like book, it is extremely difficult for me to answer one person because I strongly believe that water management is a
Mhm.
collaborative work, and we are doing that work through W for W
Mhm.
Foundation, reaching out to as many people as we can, and running the longest water
Mm.
conversation as this at this
Mm.
point in time. So it's extremely difficult to really name one person. But if it was
Mhm.
again, and that person is again no more, and I would have loved to work with Anil
Mhm.
Agarwal ji.
Whose book you mentioned with Sunita Ramanji?
Yes, the Dying
Dying Wisdom.
Wisdom,
Yes.
Dying Wisdom, the second
I'm going
one.
to
So
actually.
because I when I started my career, he was at his, I will say, a very well
Mhm.
known person, and for me, Anupam Mishra was far reaching person, because he is legend. He
Mhm.
was legend. So I could feel Anil Agarwal ji
Mm.
as accessible. So I have huge respect for him. I would have loved to work with him.
Wonderful. What's
Hmm.
one water saving habit you wish everyone would adopt?
Extremely important. Hmm. Actually, just start using less water for
Mm. Mm.
everything. Everything, whether it is washing dishes, washing vegetables, fruits,
Mhm.
bathing. Uh, and I think in every activity, we can save around 30% to 40%. That's my take. And I have assessed it in my
Mhm.
own life. So it's not only tap everywhere. And the fact that people use sink for washing fruits and vegetables, if we can get rid of it, or at least have a
Mm.
bowl
Mm.
below, when we wash our clothes, at least make sure that the water is reused. So that's extremely important. So if there is one habit, if we can reuse the water for second use, that will be extremely useful. Which people have to understand: the more we use fresh water, the more we
Mm.
produce wastewater. So our target has to be to reduce
Mm.
production of
Mm.
wastewater. So it's like a cyclic
Correct.
process.
So we come to the final segment of the rapid fire segment. We
Hmm.
call it thought provoking
Hmm.
conversations. So, first one is, how do you see the role of youth in addressing water management issues in India?
Oh, I think they have the biggest responsibility now
Mhm.
in two ways.
Mhm.
To be honest, my generation has
Mhm.
screwed everything. So let us be honest on that. So they have to
Mhm.
take charge, and first of all, start stopping a lot of things which are happening still wrong in
Mhm.
the society. So I will strongly believe that if youth can take the very a way I used to look at life in my
Mhm.
young days, as
Mhm.
questioning everything, having that rebellious nature, that little bit of aggression of if something is
Mhm.
happening wrong, they have to stand up. They have to literally stand up, and that applies to water as well. And I give classic example to especially my fellow professional youth. Please do not contribute to any lake development and any riverfront development, because it's a crime. It's a
Mhm.
heinous crime. It's a murderous activity. I sorry I'm using these words, but my emotions are now out. But youth have to really stand up to say no to wrongdoings. And I think they have the courage to do that as compared to my generation. And they have to also look for alternates. It's not that there is no alternates. The thing is, people like us who have not received those big awards, big names, big projects in the background, it becomes extremely difficult for us to convince youth. But when I'm talking to them one to one, I do a lot of youth mentoring. I do realize that they understand. So youth have to do peer mentoring, as well as they have to look for good mentors to really bring a change. Otherwise, they may go through the climate change with a little bit of rough life, but their children and grandchildren are going to have serious problem. One may not be able to see grandchildren, children from at this point in time, but it is going to come in their lives. They have to work for them.
What has been the most challenging part of advocating for water conservation in urban areas?
Oh, that's a list I can fill up as a book. It's a huge challenge to even go across and talk about water education. See, there are two things in water. The water resource management, so basically doing something physically, and another thing is managing the knowledge of the water resource. And unfortunately or fortunately, in my opinion, unfortunately, we have a lot of proponents of action. If somebody is digging a well, somebody is clearing a lake, there are a lot of people to pat at the back, and awards and everything follows up. So to that extent, we have gone to really giving them big awards, lakefront development, riverfront development. But the proponents of knowledge are undermined. The value of knowledge is not really appreciated. We do not realize that any development is backed by the knowledge which people receive from somewhere. So somebody is producing the knowledge, somebody is gathering the knowledge, somebody is putting it across for you. But unfortunately, in our society, this is more in India, but across the world also, in case of water, there are serious problems of getting acknowledgement and appreciation for knowledge management of the water sector. I'm not saying that I need everybody should get award and appreciation, but the fact that somebody has to produce the knowledge. How could we know about Vedanta, Mahabharata, or Ramayana, or Quran, or Bible if somebody has not written it? So someone has to do the research, and someone has to also document how society is conducting itself, and someone has to decode it, put it into simple words, and bring it across to the society. Unfortunately, our society is not ready to accept that as a work. So people like me really find it challenging even to find work. I will be very honest on that. And then for me, a bigger challenge than this has been, one part is this research, which I call research. Another part is that educating about water. So when I came back to India, I really wanted to teach anything and everything around water. So I have designed my own courses, many courses for that matter, around water, how to research water, and so on and so forth, women and water. And when I go and seek some accommodation in institutes through friends, by the way, known friends, because there's no other way, being an independent. First of all, they do not understand many times that whether this education is required in the courses, and then also many a times it's time abhi isme hamare is pe jagah nahi hai. So I have been extremely challenged to teach and learn water education. For myself also, I'm not a water expert. Unfortunately, people look at me as a water expert. I would really like to be known as a research method person. I'm not expert at all in any subject, but I love research method. And that means how to study something, how to document something, how to disseminate the knowledge. That's my interest area. And the thing is, because I'm doing it on water, people consider me as water expert, but I am not a water expert. So
That's very modest of you, ma'am.
No, it's really I have not been educated in water. I'm just trying to dig knowledge about water, dig and
Hmm.
dig deeper about it to understand what people are doing, how people are doing
Hmm.
like this, why people are doing like this, what do they
Hmm.
know about it, how did they come to know about it, which education, which college. So I really keep mining where water knowledge is really, I will say,
Hmm.
disseminated, and try to understand, because I have no degree in water, but having degrees in different things and studying water from various angles, I could understand, I will say, an ounce of water, a
Hmm.
drop
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
water. But then, if I want to really expand that drop and share it with others, there is no
Hmm.
platform in this country. Literally, let me give example of architecture
Hmm.
planning schools where my basic qualification is. There is not even a one credit course in architecture planning schools across the country. So when I go with my courses, which range from 1 day to one
Hmm.
year, by the way, 1 day, 1 month, 1 week, 1 semester, 1 year. I have designed the courses on water depending on, and it's
Mhm.
written course. Huh? By the way, I have written the whole pedagogy. When I share it with people, I don't know, it goes to cold boxes or those dustbins or no response. And I feel a bit disturbed about it, because we cannot change water management if we do not change
True.
water education. And best of the universities are closing their water centers because they are not getting admissions. So we have even less than two-digit water institutes in the
Hmm.
country. Don't have the fortune to teach at all of them, but I teach at Terisas, which is in Delhi, and I did teach at TIS Hyderabad some time ago, and Central University Rajasthan. But it's, they try it out for one
Hmm.
semester, and it's also about employability and all. They don't, I don't know what happens, but architecture planning, they have been really sanitizing themselves from water education, and for me it is the biggest challenge in
Totally.
my
Totally.
career. Not that I want to make a career out of it. My career is doomed, but at least water crisis has to be dealt
Uh,
with. मेरा कितना उम्र है और
so
हार्डली
sorry.
कुछ ज़्यादा नहीं है मेरी उम्र अब ज़्यादा, बट आई विल मे नॉट बी फेसिंग द क्राइसिस, बट एटलीस्ट आई एम
अगर
कंसर्न्ड
आपने
अबाउट इट.
मेरा और आबिद सर का वो एपिसोड देखा है माइक्रो पॉडकास्ट he
हम्म.
shared something very interesting from a book by Deepak Chopra where he said
हाँ
that
हाँ.
हमें ऐसा लगता है कि age has not been defined. He said
हम्म.
a turtle has 400 years, हाथी का 150 साल है, and he said इंसानों का 120 साल है. अब होता ये है कि हम 120 साल तक रह सकते हैं if we actually take care of our body and mind, eating right.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I'm sure there is still a long way to go for 120, man. So we need you. Uh,
Not that I wish to, but the thing is, what पानी शरीर में भी तो
हाँ,
पानी ही है ना. बाहर का पानी साफ रहेगा तो अंदर भी साफ रहेगा, तो लंबा
बिल्कुल
जी
सही
जाएंगे,
कहा
उसमें
आपने,
क्या है.
मैम. How do you measure the impact of your work on ecological restoration and water management? Is there any way you measure the work? कोई methodology है कुछ?
Now your grilling is going to start. Do you need to measure? Because that's a very corporate way of doing things, and I would like to remind uh, the fact
हाँ.
from Gita, कर्म किए जा फल की चिंता मत कर. So I am like the turtle, who is just working. I don't know whether there is impact or not, and I am also not interested to measure. I don't
Hmm.
know to measure, and I am not interested to measure the impact, because I don't think I am doing anything extraordinary. To be honest, I'm trying to change myself to reduce my
Mhm.
consumption and produce lesser waste, both solid and
Mhm.
liquid waste, and whatever is humanly possible in 28 4 hours, I just try to teach and learn for myself, sometimes scream also at people when I cannot control. So I think after some time people will start calling me mad in that way, कि पानी देखते ही कुछ ना कुछ बोलने का इसका मन करता है. I have no clue if people hear and think and understand what I'm trying to convey in my
Mhm.
communications. But I'm doing my best to do that, because I think मुझे अपना कर्म करना है.
What advice would you give to someone wanting to pursue a career in ecological research?
Please come. We need more. We need more. We are minority. We are serious minority. I mean, we use the word in very different way in the country, unfortunately. But water
Mhm.
workers, I don't like the word warriors because I don't like wars. Much of the wars in the world is
Mm.
around water. People don't realize that. So water workers really need more people. That's as simply put. The more we are, I think the more we will be able to convince more people to take care
Mhm.
of water, take care of
Mhm.
themselves. So we need more brotherhood and sisterhood in
Mhm.
the sector, more complementarities, more collaborations than more
Mhm.
competitions in career. So please come over. Whether you like it or not, in future, water careers will be
Mhm.
thriving. It may not be thriving today. There is a serious issue of employability. Um, but I don't see people can really get away with not working on water in future. I mean, if you will have problem, either you go the Darwinism way, fight it out and for your survival, or you take it as a profession and really try to solve some of the things which is possible in your
I
capacity,
think.
whether it is education, whether it is physical, and we need more and more and more water workers. I have no doubts on that. I mean, we have so many people playing cricket. We have so many people joining film. I don't know why they are doing these things. I mean, I don't see any value additions. So please don't mind. But they are also misleading the country and the youth in
Mhm.
many ways, especially with their ugly advertisements. And I will refer to only water advertisements. Uh, and I think if we want to change that thing, every house has to talk about water with the same spirit as they talk about Bollywood and cricket. I'm giving these two examples because I get extremely disturbed how irresponsible those players and actors are towards
Mm.
their environment. So I have to give this example. And unfortunately, we are not in competition with them, but then we don't get people to
Mm.
listen about this serious issue. And a simple example is look at the followings. Social media following of those people who are selling
Mm.
something bad, who are selling something not so useful for the society, just for that altruism. We have more fashion institutes in this country than water institutes, and for me, that is the sorry. I'm coming to my natural me now, huh? So I feel bit. I have to control
No,
my
I'm
emotions,
glad I'm able to
and
bring
for
out
me,
that.
yes, for me, oh, you have to really see my Machandi route then. For me, this is the biggest embarrassment that we have more fashion institutes in the. Not that I'm against fashion. I am wearing something very beautiful, second hand, by the way, second hand, by the way. But we cannot have less water management institutes. Come on, youth. I mean, what will you do with all those education if there is no fresh water and
Mhm.
fresh air? How will you ensure? I mean, going abroad is not the
Mm.
answer. Most of my generation devils are doing this evil business of hoarding money to send their
Mm.
children abroad to study something so that they can make their career. How will we get fresh air and fresh water in my country when we are sending so many things outside? So, and even we are sending our people outside, especially the youth. Please don't go anywhere. Stay here, work on environment, work on water. This is a beautiful land, and we have to really restore it. We have destroyed it so much, and I want to take this moment to really apologize to the younger generation and the children. My generation and my parents' generation have really done a lot of wrong things. Importantly, value
Mm.
based wrong things, that we have to hoard money to secure future. No, we have to restore the environment for fresh air and fresh water. There is also money
Mm.
in this sector. I also want to convey this to you. I mean, I am not starving in 30 years. Yes, I am maybe earning less than my friends, but I am happy every day. Happier than my fat earning money friends. By the way, I wish I had some time to describe some of the examples where I have friends in big companies, big positions, and I have never
Mm.
see them happy. So if you are with environment, especially with water, trust me, you don't have to invest in happiness. There is no cost for
Yes.
happiness. You are naturally happy because after all we are born for a
Yes.
purpose, and that purpose is so closely attached to nature. That purpose is so closely attached to be with other beings. It may be human beings, it may be other beings. The moment you are physically with beings, you feel that your purpose of life is getting solved
Absolutely.
every day.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you can understand it much better than me when you have left a good work and starting to really speak your heart and speak your head. There will be a point in time in everybody's life. Youth is a very short
Hmm.
period of life. Sooner you realize that money cannot solve the purpose of life.
This particular conversation has struck a chord with me because I remember I had to return back from the US. I had come down because of my father's health at that point in time, and he's no more with us, but he was fighting a battle. And as for whatever reasons, my mother said that stay back, रुक के देखो क्या होता है.
Hmm.
And I'm so glad I heard her. I listened to every word of hers.
See, माँ की
बिल्कुल.
आवाज़ है, हाँ?
Yeah.
Mothers can never
See,
be
for the
wrong, huh?
first time,
Because they
yeah.
think from
When I
here.
wanted to go, she said, "Jao, career bana lo." But when I came back this time, it was 2018. My father passed away December 2017, 2018.
I'm so sorry
Yeah,
to
but
hear this, huh?
he all the values I have, he's my hero always. He's there. He would always tell me that you should take
I'm
up a
sure.
broadcasting career, and I would say, Papa, I don't think I can do that. And today I'm doing podcasting, and my mom reminds me every single day, "Dekho, Papa kehte the." Uh, and she told me, "Don't
Hmm.
leave because we need really people with your kind of passion." I am not saying this as a mother. I'm saying this as a citizen of this country that we need people like you to be.
She's manifestation of
Yes,
Mother India, by the
she
way.
is in many ways, and she said, "Stay back, and you will not regret one single moment of it." And I'm so happy to be
Hmm.
back and doing what I am doing. I feel the stories I bring, and there are times when my mom calls me and says, "I see other podcasts, and they have celebrities on the show, and they have so many more likes." Than your
Huh.
podcast has. But she said, "Don't worry about it. I'm glad you are doing what you want to do because at the end of the day, you
Hmm.
are
That's
reaching
so
out to
important.
people. You're talking about issues." She said, "All the likes and followings will come because this generation."
Hmm. And why should
Yes.
we look for them? That's
Yeah.
my point also.
So I'm so glad because it struck a chord, whatever you just said
Hmm.
now. Yeah, and I'm more motivated than ever. Uh, so, on that front, another question: how do you stay motivated when faced with the challenges of water conservation?
Oh, it's a
Huh?
everyday battle, huh? Everyday battle. Trust me, Santosh, it's a really everyday battle. But I think if I have to give a tangible answer to
Mm-hmm.
it, yoga helped me a lot to keep a balanced
Mm-hmm.
head, heart, and rest of it. But work-wise, I am really looking at every day and thinking there is so much work left. I have to
Mm-hmm.
do so much. I have to do this, and you may call it a disease, psychosomatic. But I get up every morning thinking that there is so much work I have to do. You know, without even thinking that I failed last night, I
Mm-hmm.
failed yesterday, and I'm failing every day. But I think for me that's not important. Important is that I rise every
Yes.
morning with the hope that I want to do something, whatever humanly possible little thing. And you will be surprised to know that majority of my time these days goes in youth
Mm-hmm.
counseling, and I did not choose it. It
Yes.
happened. you know I'm a good listener, and I love to listen and learn rather than speaking, although people call me for speaking. But I prefer to listen
Mm-hmm.
and learn more, so I'm reading a lot and listening to a lot of people, from personal counseling to professional counseling. All kinds of counseling happen with me. And I think when I listen to
Mm-hmm.
people, when I learn about whatever apathy they carry with themselves, um, I am constantly reminded that failing is part of life. We should not shy away from it. We have to embrace it, and very similar to the way we look at water. Let me just use it here as a metaphor. Looking at wastewater, we should not be really avoiding it, and we should not be, just keeping it away. And we have to realize that it is all one water. The wastewater comes back to us as a fresh water. And this realization is not there. So there is a process. You have to correct the process of wastewater and bring it back. And groundwater was doing it in the past by itself. And I think that kind of understanding that there is now, means सुबह है तो रात भी होगी, रात है तो सुबह भी होगी. सिमिलरली आई थिंक फेल हो रहे हैं तो कभी कभी अच्छी चीजें भी मिलती हैं. Like this conversation happening, you would not have come to me if I was not doing an ounce of little things here and there. You would not have come to know that I'm doing something. So these small interactions, this small patting, I'll say this is a small pat on my back, are highly motivating. This conversation today can keep me going for next 1 month at least. I am constantly sitting and thinking about futuristic ideas. And I submit my proposals. I don't get them. I'm also evaluated in many areas, many competitions. So I know that my proposal may be written weakly, in a weaker sense, but the idea of the proposal is not weak. So I have to improve my writing. So that gives me new challenge to write in different way. There are many projects which have gone further to some extent, and then the funder is holding me back and things like that. But that does not stop me from thinking. So for me, my biggest strength is that I'm constantly thinking how I can do things better than yesterday, whether it is project wise, whether it is conducting myself. So it's a work in progress. I want to be a better person than yesterday. That has to be an attitude, and that I apply in my work as well. अच्छा ये ऐसे नहीं हो पाया, ठीक है ऐसे ट्राई करते हैं. Even yesterday I sent a proposal which I wrote 3 years ago, and I was confirmed funding. I did not get a funding. So yesterday I recycled. I was working on it for some time. I recycled it and I resubmitted it. So I think that keeps me going, because I think मुझे नहीं लगता कि मेरे जीवन काल में जितना मैंने प्लान बनाया है मैं सब काम कर पाऊंगी. I write diary, and I have pages of things I wish to write. Writing came to my career very late, because in architecture we were not taught to write. And I wish to write so many things. I'm sitting on 4 or 5 books, but I'm just unable to complete them, because I want to bring all of them together. थोड़ा सबको 1% बढ़ाती रहती हूँ. So काम तो बहुत है, करते रहो मन लगा के. तो इसलिए कभी बोर ही नहीं लगता. मैं एक्चुअली कभी फ्री ही नहीं होती, बिकॉज आई हैव लर्न टू कीप माई सेल्फ बिजी. आई एम नॉट डिपेंडेंट ऑन एनीबडी टू मेक मी हैप्पी. आई एम नॉट डिपेंडेंट on anybody to tell me what to do. If there is nothing, I'll just open my silai machine and start stitching. If there's nothing, I will cook extra dish. If there is nothing. So, and also I do my whole domestic chores, so that also keeps me busy. And when I'm cooking, I love to see, I love to imagine कि अच्छा ये तुरई है, आज तुरई बना है घर में by the way, तो ये कैसे उगा होगा, उसका पेड़ कैसे होगा, इसमें पानी कितना. So I really get into those dreams about those vegetables when I'm cooking. पानी कितना लगा होगा, शहर देश के किस कोने से आया होगा, किसान ने कैसे किया होगा, कितने में बेचा होगा, मुझे इतने में मिला. So this whole thing is running around in my head. So if I don't share these things to many people, because people will think I'm pagal. But thinking is my strength, and ideation is my double strength, I will say. I'm constantly thinking what new can be done to do something extra about water sector. And it's all about water, by the way. You give me a small problem in your life, I will find out a way how to link it with water. I'm so diseased with water matters.
That's you've just opened up.
You see, I already got charged. That tells me how motivated I stand.
What role do you think technology can play in solving water scarcity issues?
This is a big debate that goes in the water sector. Yes, technology is important, required. In fact, we started screwing water matters with technology only, and big dams are classic example of it. But I will not shy away from saying that they are now inherent component of solving water crisis. For example, wastewater recycling cannot happen without technology, but wastewater reduction is a social part. But once that is created, you need a technology. So we are at a crossroad in a society where I think technology and social cultural aspects needs some marriage, and that is where water managers or water workers have to really think seriously about collaborations, because in the past water subject was more of an engineering subject, technological subject, science subject. It took many decades for us to think that water management needs a social behavior change, you know. So now we see a lot of people in the social science sector and all, and science and technology. I will say STEAM, not STEM. So
Yes.
arts, you know. So
Yeah.
STEAM. So arts. I'm adding arts there, and extremely important. So if technology, the thing is what it does is it takes the common people out of the system. In the sense they get, oh, koi aur specialist karega. But if we can find out some way of doing things now with IoT base and all, one of my proposals which I wrote for Marie Curie scholarship, which I did not get, was how IoT based system can really be, initiated within our society, so that people start looking at their mobile and start thinking how they can change their behavior. Why not? If there is health system there, if there is Dream 11 of this stupid cricket game, why not something about water? So it is going to come handy, science and technology, and especially when we are talking about these days, AI is going to make a AI for good. Let me just add AI for good. We need human intelligence more than tech intelligence, but we cannot shy away from its contribution to water management. Definitely required, but please not as a mechanical approach to it. So you produce more wastewater and you put bigger machine and STP is not my suggestion. I think we have to work on the prevention first, or put equal budget and money or effort on prevention, then on the cure side. Technology is more on the cure side, but technology can also help in changing social behavior.
True.
You know, and there are a lot of innovations which have come into water systems there.
How can individuals support the mission of improving water management in their own communities?
So I have to first go to the quote of
Mhm.
Gandhi: "Be the change you wish to see
Mhm.
in the world." So first experiment on yourself, things. Then you know what you can expect to change in your family before going out in the community, because the problem which even technology-driven education in the past did to us, and this hi-fi education which I am also part of, we were told to go and change the society, where Veda told us to first work on changing yourself. Gandhi told us first to work on changing yourself. Let us accept ourselves as work in progress. Apply everything on oneself and then see how things can be changed. And I think the biggest change, if one wishes to do water management, one doesn't have to do much actually. It's a very simple change you have to bring. Start reading about essentialism and minimalism. And if you stop buying, I think that's the
True.
biggest contribution. If you reduce your, consumption footprint, you are anyway reducing the water footprint. I think this is the biggest change and possible change humans can do to themselves. You know, you cannot avoid drinking 4 liters of water. Please drink 4 liters of water. You are a house plant that needs that much of water. So we are a house plant, you know. So we need that 4 liters of water. You will require around 10 liters of water for your domestic other things. Then you are already consuming many liters of water through your fruits and vegetables and coffee. By the way, this is light coffee. The coffee which is drunk in a week by a person, I now in one day I drink it for 7 days. So reducing the coffee shot, because everything produced in this world has a water
True.
footprint, and that is not understood. And I will at this point also encourage everyone to have a water footprint app also on their mobile, as any other app, banking app, driving app, traveling app. But basically, all these, TikTok apps and all these gamification apps are there. So why not have one more app and look at it through it? And it's bottom line again, the mantra: reduce consumption of water to reduce production of wastewater. That has to be the mantra of water management at individual level. You know, and that as I mentioned, it is, you cannot reduce your drinking water, domestic water. You have to reduce in other ways. Washing, buying, most important, buying goods is the devil of our problems. Most of the solid waste and wastewater comes from the industrial production, which we aspire to have as goods. So if we can reduce our greed and move back to some basic needs, I think you are doing the biggest contribution to water management. You don't need to go out and clean the lake every week and take a selfie out there that you cleaned the lake. You just don't go and litter the lake. you know so that is also an important. You don't allow your family members to really litter. You can segregate waste. You can produce lesser wastewater. Use your wastewater for gardening. Do not use fresh water. All these things are possible, really possible. I wish, Santosh, you can find me somebody or you do it. I have been really thinking to do something like this for 5-minute podcast on what an individual can do on water management. I so much wish to do it, but I am
I'm
technologically
here, ma'am.
challenged
I'm here.
person.
Let's do it.
So if we can do once a week mantra for an individual, what they can do at their own level, we can just shoot 5 minutes and send it
Done.
across to
Done.
people, like radio FM, like radio FMs.
Sure.
Why not? And these things are possible by people, and if they can be conveyed through a very nice medium, very playful medium, people will understand that they can do it. I think people are waiting for government to do something, and people are waiting for those large things to happen, to change. So if you ask people, they say, oh, government को ये करना चाहिए, government को ये करना चाहिए. Then you say, what आपको क्या करना चाहिए? वो उनको, they do
Yes.
not know what to do. And there is a theory called prisoner's dilemma here. Even if people know, it's a very famous microeconomic theory. Even if people know, they think कि मेरे अकेले करने से समाज थोड़ी बदल जाएगा, क्योंकि मेरे पड़ोसी तो नहीं कर रहे ना, मेरे घर वाले तो नहीं कर रहे. And this is something where we have to get out of prisoner's dilemma. आप करिए, आपके जीवन का पर्पस है, आपको अपने आप को जवाब देना है जीवन में. दूसरे करे चाहे नहीं करे, आपको करके दिखाना है. और शायद अगर आपने किया तो आपको देख के कुछ लोग करेंगे. क्लासिक एग्जाम्पल, मेरे घर में लोग मुझसे डरते हैं नल जोर से चलाने के लिए, क्योंकि नल जोर से चला और मैंने चिल्लाया. भरी दोपहरी में पेड़ों में पानी डालना और फ्रेश वाटर डालना is a crime. Please don't plant trees if you cannot water them with your used water. Do not draw groundwater and plant trees, potted plant ho chahe trees, because you are actually creating bigger problem for yourself by drawing groundwater. बोर का पानी निकाल के अगर पेड़ लगा रहे हैं, you are doing no good for the society, no good for the environment. I think this has to come across, because many people think कि बहुत पेड़ लगाने से बहुत अच्छा होगा. नहीं, all green is not good. All blue is good, by the way. Let me tell you, not that because I practice water. If you save 1 acre of wetland or a water body, it is equivalent to saving 80 acres of forest. Can you imagine the relationship? People must know this relationship. So not that you are going to make a pond or a forest by yourself, but drawing water and watering the plants and trees should be forbidden forever. And that is only possible when people come to know this relationship.
All right, ma'am. So we come to the end of the rapid fire segment. Mansee, ma'am, thank you so much for being on this podcast. Thank you for supporting us, because your presence really helps us as a podcast to talk about important issues. Because I started off this podcast because it's an extension of who I am and what I believe in. And when we have important, inspiring storytellers who come onto our podcast and share important stories, our platform gets the the opportunity to carry these stories forward for a long time to come. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Santosh. Thanks a lot. You actually made me speak my heart, which is my always preferred mode, rather than giving a regimental or political answers, diplomatic answers. So I like this kind of conversations, and I'm a strong believer that conversations are crucial to conservation, and we seriously need water conservation. And for that, we need serious water conversations. And you have started this conversation, and I'm sure it is going to have a ripple effect on many more people to come.
And as Mansee ma'am said, for water conservation, we need a lot more water conversation. And Between Us podcast is about conversation. And the most important conversation is the one that we have with ourselves. And on that note, thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe, stay healthy.
And thank you for listening to this episode of the Between Us podcast. This podcast was recorded at Manikpod Studios in Chembur, Mumbai. Our sound engineer is Moinak Chakraborty, and our producers are Arnav Dogra and Santosh Kumar. Our associate producer is Samyak Kamble. The video for this episode was processed at Viewfinder's Edit. The Between Us podcast uploads episodes weekly, and we'll see you next time.